What is going on, faithful? It is your boy Niner Sickness with the Niner Sickness podcast. I want to apologize for the last stream. I went on for a bit and then came right off. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we got it squared away. So those that are finding this live, I appreciate you coming back. I know the one that I had previously, I had to shut it down, but it's all good in the hood. All praise to our Lord and Jesus. Amen. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some 49er football. This is the off season. I have a great guest, but I like to say all the time, please wipe your feet before entering and smash that like button for your boy, Niner Sickness. How's everybody doing? Before I get my guest on here, just let me say hello to a couple of my friends here. Give me a second real quick. Let's hold on, guys. Give me a second. All right, what's up, Super Gremlin Productions? My boy's new channel. We got to check it out, guys. Rafael, what's going on, Rafael? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We got David Williams in the house. How you doing, David? We got JBX 4 and 9. Bro, your jersey is going out tomorrow. I apologize for the lack of, man, bro. It's sitting on my table. Yeah, no excuses, bro. I dropped the ball on your jersey, bro. It will go out tomorrow. Please forgive me on that aspect. But let's talk 49er football. Enough of me. You guys did not come to see me. You guys came to see my guest. We're going to talk 49er football. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and make sure to hit that like button. With no further ado, let me bring in my boy, my brother, from another mother, Mr. Colt Chronicles. How you doing, sir?
What's up, Beto? How you doing, my man? I'm blessed, man. Hey, it's all my fault on the technical difficulties. I'm still trying to, get situated with some of these things. But thank you for your patience. Yep. Thank you, my man. I appreciate you having me on for sure, man.
No problem, bro. It's all good. No worries. No worries there, man. What's up, Tony Smith? How you doing, sir? Good to see you. So it's the off season, and a lot of things haven't happened yet. The quarterback situation hasn't changed. Free agency hasn't started. So typically, I know we talk about what's going on with the 49ers, but today I want to change it up a little bit. I want my viewers and the people that follow me on the podcast to get to know my brother Rich and his podcast. And I'm gonna ask him a couple of questions, if you don't mind, about how you became a Niner fan and how you who introduced you to the 49ers. So let me start off with that. How did you become a Niner fan, and who introduced you to the 49ers, my brother?
You know what? I know there were 49er fans in my family. My mom's always been a big 49er faithful. It feels like my first memories. Like, it feels like my very first memories. I've always loved the Niners. I love to play football. I used to write my own plays. Like, I wasn't one of those kids that just really loved cartoons. I just immediately loved football. I don't know. I just became really passionate about it. I wanted my 49er football, wanted to play it, watch it, read it, do it all. I wanted to try to become like Jerry Rice, man. It's always been my passion since my first memories. Probably mostly due to my mom. And yeah, man. So
okay. Yeah. So wow, okay, yeah. I know a lot of people, they have different, families that introduce you to football, uncles, dads, older brothers, and it's always curious in mind of how everybody became a Niner fan. And a lot of people chose the Niners because they were doing great back in the 80s. A lot of times, like myself, I chose the Niners because all my friends and family are Raider fans. And I joined the Niners fan base prior to Bill Walsh and Joe Montana. They were not even on the team when I became a Niner fan. The Niners were doing terrible at that time, but I wanted to choose a team opposite of what my friends and family. I always been like that. I always wanted to go against the current instead of with it. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it isn't, but it is what it is. So, what is one of your favorite players? I want my viewers really to get to know you today and start following you on your channel. So, let me ask you, what is one of your favorite players of all time offensively? And then give me one defensively.
Oh man, that was Jerry Rice, man. It's I love to it's kind of funny though too because I love to throw the football. Me and my son, we still play catch to this day. Me and the church, we still get together every other holiday. We get together, play flag football. It's always been a part of my life, but Jerry Rice has always been my number one dude. I don't know, I just love to catch the football. And then, whether it was on the playground at recess or, playing high school football, so I would just go into a different mode once I had the football in my hands. It's almost like everything would black out. Um, the world would stop moving, and I would just try to juke as many people as I could, hit the spin moves, and if I couldn't get away, I would try to truck somebody as good as I could. Just man, it just I don't know, it fired me up. It was a place of peace for me to go to football. I kind of grew up in chaos and very tough circumstances, very tough childhood. So it was just a place to kind of let everything out, football. And, Jerry Rice was a super positive role model for me, basically, when I really didn't have any. So it was a little bit more than just the love of football. It was kind of like a coping mechanism ever since I was a boy.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. A lot of us, we need some type of substance to help us out through some hard times. Football was also something that helped me out as well because I grew up in some really bad times. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Give me a second, real quick. Um, I grew up through some hard times myself. Being around gangs in the type of neighborhood, and football was a way of an escape for me. I was able
Yeah.
to get away and trying to do something positive. Instead of negative. I never went to college and played pro or nothing like that. But high school football, off the field football, the coaches, they were at the football. They were like a father figure to me, and they instilled a lot of values in me. And it's easy to get influence in the streets, bro. It's easy to to be around the friends that some you feel some type of loyalty to your friends, and you feel like if you're not in the streets with them, you're letting them down, and you're not part of that family. But the reality is, man, it's as sad as it is. That is not really a family in the streets because they're lost. It's like the blind leading the blind. So sometimes you got to find something positive in your life to help you get better or get back on track, for say. And sometimes football, for a lot of us, is a way of an escape. Those that choose to take that road, unfortunately, a lot of the youngsters prefer, the gang violence in the streets, and they feel like they're not athletes, or they feel like, a lot of times it's low self esteem. They don't feel
Mhm.
like they can belong to a team. So they just hang out in the streets, and that's just a lie of the enemy, man. It's just a distraction. So I'm glad that you use football to guide you out of that. And you can't go wrong with Jerry Rice, man. Jerry Rice is an amazing receiver, the goat of all times. I love Jerry Rice. I was more. I don't get me wrong. Jerry Rice is great, but I was more of a John Taylor fan. I love watching John Taylor. He was second to Jerry Rice, but I think in any other team he would have been a starter for sure. And I love what John Taylor, but I love that they both were on the team. I don't know if you said it. I didn't catch it. Defensively, did you mention who you like defensively? Who's your all-time player? I don't know if you said it or
Ah,
not.
going back in history, because I was born in '86. So, I didn't catch a lot of like Rodney Lott and stuff, but just going and doing my history. going doing my research. Of course, got a tremendous respect for Rodney Lott. Man, just love that dude. But for my personal, for me personally, just watching, from my childhood and being able to watch it live, it's kind of hard to be honest. If I had to choose one, it's kind of weird in a way, but man, Ken Norton Jr. would fire me up. I still to this day on huge plays, throw uppercuts, man. If we make a huge play, hey, when we make huge plays, that's one of my celebrations. I start throwing uppercuts, kind of like when we drafted Trey Lance. I got a video on YouTube where I show my reaction to drafting Trey Lance, and that's one of my things, man. Boxing is a part of my history. My grandfather, was a boxer. The same way Ken Norton Jr. His dad was a heavyweight once upon a time. So I got a little thing about Ken Norton Jr. But of course, I'm a lot like you, I think, when it comes to the underdog, because I love Tim McDonald as well.
Mm.
I know a lot of people will say Merton Hanks' name first, but man, I love Tim McDonald. I felt like he was underrated for sure. He's not talked about enough, I don't feel like. Yeah, I could go on and on and on, but it's hard. I could say Bryant Young too. I watched Bryant Young, Ken Norton, Tim McDonald. Dion was there for a year, but we had Gary Plummer, we had Kevin Green for a minute. There was just so many. Patrick Willis. I could go on and on, man.
Yeah, there was a lot of great players to cross the 49er threshold. I'm a trench guy. I love defensive players, and I like offensive players a lot. I was a guy McIntyre, Jesse Sapolo, Randy Cross, Steve Wallace, Harris Barton, type of a fan. Brian Young is ultimately my best. I'm a big fan of Brian Young. I think what he did for the 49ers was awesome. But also, Patrick Willis, I think he's going to be a future Hall of Fame. I know he didn't get in this year, but I expect him to get in the next, if not next year, in the next year to come. Great player, just did not play enough. But in the 7 years that he played, man, he did so much for this team. I did notice that, Kathy. I appreciate that. I'm trying to figure out why, excuse me, why that's happening. And I don't know why, but my voice has just left me. Hold on for a second. It's weird. I haven't been talking much. Definitely. Keep me posted, Kathy, how my internet's going on. I appreciate that for that information from you. Definitely Ronnie Lott. I got to meet him. Great individual. I didn't meet him while he was on the team, but I got to meet him once he retired. He has a gym in South San Jose. I don't know if it's still there or not. It's been years, but the whole idea of him cutting half of his pinky to stay in the game, you don't see that nowadays. It won't happen. I don't think it would happen. I'm not saying players are weak nowadays, but they're not made out of the same cloth that they were made in the old days where, can you imagine, bro? You're out of the game. You can't play no more because of the injury to your finger. Yet you're like, cut it off. What? Cut it off. Amputate my finger for a game. People might think, people hear this and they're like, oh, it's no big deal. But let me see if anybody watching will cut your pinky off for something. It is a big deal. It's just, he made it seem like it wasn't because just the type of person that Ronnie Lott is. But imagine that, bro. Cutting, even if it was a little bit of your pinky, still cutting it off where you didn't have to. People don't realize this. He didn't have to. He did it to stay in the game. He could have just missed the game and kept his finger, right?
Absolutely, man. That's you know what? You're making me have flashbacks. I never had nothing chopped off, but once upon a time, man, I dislocated my pinky twice, and both times we're playing football, but I dislocated it where it was doing an L shape, from the big part of the knuckle. And man, both times I did it, I was able to pop it in myself. I kind of bit down, kind of looked away. And when I first looked down, I was terrified, but I knew, hey, I got to get it back in. So I didn't wait to go to the hospital, but I just popped that thing right back in twice. And, back in the day, the first time I did it, back when I used to drink a lot, I was a little tipsy and it wasn't so bad the first time. And then fast forward about 5, 6 years, my son, he threw like the smallest little pass he threw just a little weak pass. And because the way he threw it, I went to catch it like just as soft as he threw it, and it just perfectly hit. And that time I was completely sober. That's when I got completely sober in my life. And that time was much more terrifying. I looked down like I seen a ghost. I thought I was going to pass out, but for whatever reason, I sucked it up. I couldn't get it at first, and then I did it again, and I popped it into place, and it was swollen for a couple weeks. But sometimes I tell that story, people are like, "Man, you're off the hook, bro." Like I would have been flipping out, running to the hospital real quick. But I think when you got heart and when you got children, my children definitely, have been just as big as a thing as football for me to level up, just wanting to be better, wanting to try harder, making sure to pop my pinky in so I didn't have to, I had all three of my kids at the park with me. So I was like, hey, I almost have to do this. I can't rely on, trying to drive with my pinky almost falling off and all this and stuff. So, and the struggle will, sometimes you don't have to go through it to get to it. But sometimes I think when you've been through some tough stuff in your life, you're going to have a little piece in your heart is going to definitely want to rise up and do some stuff that, maybe most wouldn't. So props to Rodney Lott, man. It just a savage, a lot of heart. And, just real quick, hey, John Taylor was also one of my favorites, man. I think just because he wasn't Jerry Rice, it made me like him even more. Like, I don't know. I just love the underdog. I love to give the underdog a lot of props.
Yeah, same here. I've always been an underdog. I loved John Taylor. And again, no disrespect to Jerry Rice. He's ultimately the GOAT, one of my favorite players. But John Taylor was that unsung hero that played second fiddle to the greatest receiver, and yet he was quiet. He didn't complain. He just did his game. He played the Super Bowl that we beat against Cincinnati. Everybody thought that they were going to go to Jerry Rice for the winning game, and they went to John Taylor, and that just shows how much they believed in him. And I have his autographed jersey. He's like I said, he's one of my favorite players on the team. And there's so many, man. I mean, I go back from the early 80s, Richard, and it's fun to reminisce sometimes on the old plays, especially with all the penalties that happen nowadays. Like watching football today, I watch it because I love football and I enjoy it, and it's an escape from the reality of the real world, but it's not the same. Sometimes I catch myself watching old games of the 80s, and then when I see a certain hit, I'm like, what? No flag? Because I'm so accustomed to the flags flying so easily nowadays that if you look at the quarterback the wrong way, you get a flag. Back then, quarterbacks used to get hit. Joe Montana used to get killed back there by Lawrence Taylor and Bruce Smith. And there was no penalties. And I understand that the football is trying to, protect players from themselves or all the injuries. But, man, they watered down this football that as we know it and watch. And I understand the reasonings. I don't agree with it, but I understand that overall they're trying to protect the players. But I think it's more they're trying to protect their image, if anything else. But I enjoyed watching football back in those days where penalties were not called so often.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know what? You just made me think of a brand new idea that I've never thought of because I think the referees just have way too much involvement in the outcome of games. And like you said, I understand they want the longevity of players. They want, the mothers in high school to let the kid play. Like, okay, they're starting to protect the quarterback now. They're starting to protect the wide receivers coming over the middle now. So I understand both sides of it. But when I was thinking about how much the referees get to dictate the outcome of games, it makes me kind of think like, you know what? Why not just fine the players? Why not just throw, instead of it dictating the outcome of a game, why not just find a player when you hit a defenseless receiver? Well, it's kind of like why does the whole team kind of got to play for that? Have an official at the end of the game mount up, you know, um, who did whatever kind of unnecessary hits and throw fines on them because that'll get them to stop, without the refs being able to dictate. Because I see some amazing plays, some perfectly timed football plays and hits that get a completely just they get a flag thrown on them, and it's like they get penalized instead of rewarded for an amazing play. And it's just unfortunate, to be honest. But, this is the new world. And then at the same time, just because they made the rules that they've made doesn't mean you can't go back and make it better.
Yep.
Hey, take the flags out, find the players. Maybe everybody could win. There's always a way to make things better, real talk. So hopefully they get that figured out because I miss it. You know, hey, I've been lit up a few times. There's been a few times, in high school, never made it to college, but going across the middle, I played wide receiver, and boy, I got blindsided more than a few times. And um, I was a little different. I was a little different. When I got hit like that, I it kind of just woke me up. I was kind of like, okay, I could take that. I might have got knocked out a few times, but I'm a little bit of a savage when it comes to it, so it is what it is. Hopefully they get it figured out though, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting hit, I hear you, man. When I play high school football, I'm a big guy now, and I suffer. A lot of people know that I suffered an injury, and I gained a lot of my weight due to that injury. But when I was in high school, I played tight end and linebacker. Never played in the offensive line. Believe it or not, I was too small to play offensive line. So getting smacked, man, by some good linebackers during that time. It was actually fun. I
Yeah,
kind of relate with Kittle. Kittle likes to get hit so that he can feel part of the football. It's just kind of like he needs to get hit to kind of know that he's playing football, and it's nice to have players like Kittle, and now we're seeing Debo develop into that type of player, becoming I'm going to run you over. I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to hit the sidelines. I'm going to go run through you. And talking about Debo, uh, man, bro, I don't know about you, but when we picked this kid out of South Carolina, I liked him, but I wasn't really high on him, to be honest with you. But this guy definitely has won me over, not just this year, the years before too. And I know injury took a lot of part by him, but what Kyle Shanahan was able to do with this kid, there's no other player out there that I can think of that can do what Debo does effectively as Debo does. I mean, you're in a playoff game, okay, do or die, and you're starting the game with Debo in the backfield as your running back. He's your primary receiver, and he's your tailback starting off. And everything that he's accomplished this year, did it surprise you what Debo was able to do this year, or did you expect that from him, knowing about him, in your opinion?
um you know what, my son, he's 15, and he's not as much into football as I am, but he does love it. He's more like he's kind of basketball, baseball, and football. He's not, I just love football. I like the other sports as well too. But my son asked me this year, Has Debo always been this good? I was like, hey, he's always been this good. We just haven't been able to see an entire season put together by him. We haven't been able to really see just his full potential. I didn't see this coming, what he did this year with running the ball. Mostert goes down, so that obviously opened up a door for him to, be able to take advantage of. Just amazing, man. As you were talking about Debo, I started having little flashbacks. I don't want to mess his name up, and I can't believe I can't. Maybe I didn't mess his name up, but I think it was Steve Smith. Was it Steve Smith from the Panthers? But did I get that name right?
Yeah, Steve Smith. That is correct.
Oh man, I love that man. He's not exactly. I just have more the feeling of the heart of those kind of players. It just feels like when you have a certain mentality and a certain heart where you're not afraid of contact, and you have that Walter Payton type of heart where you're just like, hey, I'm not gonna go down. I'm not gonna go out of bounds. And especially if you're built a certain way. Debo is just built, he's a stockier dude. He's stocky, and then you mix the mentality with that and speed, and hey, man, he's special. He's special to say the least. I told a few different guys, he reminds me the saying Reggie Jackson, Mr. October with the Yankees and A's back in the day, the baseball player.
Okay.
They used to say that he was the straw that stirs the drink, and I feel like Debo is kind of like that kind of dude where he's just, that straw that, stirs it all up when everything's getting kind of divided or watered down or whatever it is. He's just got that flavor. He's got that heart, hey, and he wants it. He wants it too. I don't think he's the kind of guy who's ever going to shy away from it. He's amazing to say the least. And I didn't really, I don't think any one of us expected him to get, what was it, 8 rushing touchdowns?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, hey, when you start doing things that is breaking records in all-time history, that's special.
Yeah, it definitely is, and he loves it too. You got to get the ball in your playmaker's hands, and you got to. And I love the way that Kyle Shanahan was able to utilize Debo. Now, my concern was, man, he's taking more hits. He can, he's more prone to get injured, but it seems like Debo has developed a way of to take care of his body. And a lot of these athletes, they go into the pros, they got to figure themselves out in the pros, how to eat right, how to exercise right to maintain their bodies healthy. And we had a little bit of concerns of Debo in the beginning, but this year definitely he's taken off, and I'm looking forward to see now that and I'm not going to speculate all the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers. It is the all season. People are going to talk about. It's funny. One thing I don't know if this belongs to any other fan base, but because I follow obviously the 49er fan base, it seems like if a player gets cut, released, or whatever, the Niners are tagged to getting them. So like a receiver gets cut, the Niners should get that receiver. If a player, it's like the Niners came in last year. Kyle Shanahan straight up told the media, told us, the faithful, that they brought in Trey Lance and they were going to keep Jimmy for a year while they develop Trey. And everything has stand true to what Kyle Shanahan said. And this year looks like it's going to be Trey time. Now, I did read an article by Adam Swifter that says that, hold your horses, that maybe Jimmy, and a lot of Niner fans probably not going to like this, but maybe Jimmy is not going to go. They're going to keep him another year because they feel that Trey is not exactly ready to go. And it's funny how you hear all these stories, this or that. Listen, I tell the faithful this. Last year, how many people were tagging Mac Jones to the Niners in the draft? Everybody. Mac Jones, right? Mac Jones. And when I mean everybody, I'm talking about the people that say all, I like to call it all these lies on on ESPN and NFL Network and all these so-called professionals and experts. They were all, even Kyle Shanahan's friend. I'm trying to think of his name. Help me out. The receiver. I mean, he was a quarterback. Sims. Even his friend was saying that it was going to be Mac Jones at quarterback. And what did the Niners do? They drafted Trey Lance. And if you heard Kyle Shanahan the last offseason talk about what kind of quarterback he likes, and if you paid attention to what he was saying, he never spoke about a Mac Jones. He was always talking about a Trey Lance type of quarterback. So I say all that to say this. Listen, it's the off season. People are going to speculate. You're going to be hearing this rumor, that rumor. Trey is not ready. Trey needs more time. That's gonna happen. You can't put too much into that. We just have to wait and see. But I understand that, especially a lot of content creators, they have to come up with something to keep their audience occupied. So they're gonna, clickbaits, and they're gonna spit out this and spit out that. But the whole Tom Brady, because this is his childhood team. You know how many years it's been since he's been a Patriot and a Buccaneers? And they're like, well, he wants to retire as a Niner. And then Aaron Rodgers, he should come to the Niners. I'm like, haven't you guys seen how Aaron Rodgers loses to the Niners for the last 4 times in the playoffs? He can't play very well against good defenses. Why would you want to bring someone like him over here? So with this, let me ask you, not based on what the media is saying, just of what you have seen in practices, if you've seen practices of Trey, what does your gut feeling tell you about Trey? Do you think that he's ready? Of course, he's not going to be ready to that level, but do you think he's ready to start week 1 of the 22 season? Or do you buy into that he's not ready and then we have to bring in another quarterback?
Man, I don't know if I've heard the word ready anymore. It's almost like it makes me almost want to go look up the definition of what the word ready means. And then on top of it, who's the real judge to ever say if anybody's ready or not?
Correct.
And then on top of that, you make me think about, there's a song by a dude in the Bay Area, I believe it's Sugar Free, where he says, if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready.
Come on now.
And it doesn't say it exactly like that. It says, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So I feel like I've heard a few people say, Trey Lance, he could go behind Tom Brady and he could learn. He could go behind a guy like Aaron Rodgers and he could learn. I think Trey Lance is going to be one of those generational talents that people are going to learn from Trey Lance, regardless of his age. The only thing that he does not have on all these other people is game experience, games under his belt. When it comes to the kind of person that I think he is, and I'm pretty sure I got a good idea of who he is, dating back a few months before we drafted him, I was heavily researching him. Something drew me to him. He considers himself a child of God, and besides that point, I don't think he needs to learn what to eat, what time to go to sleep, how to train, when to train. I think he is one of those kind of dudes, besides his physical gifts and talents, where he is a true leader, like spiritually, mentally, as a man, regardless of his age. I feel like people are going to real soon here, in the next couple of years, understand that that's a guy we might need to be learning from. It reminds me, there's special people. There's sometimes there are special people like a Steph Curry, like a Jerry Rice, like a Joe Montana, like a Tom Brady. And, I feel like I truly, honestly believe Trey Lance has the potential to be one of those players, mostly because of his heart and his drive. And I feel like the most special players in the world, the biggest champions, want it more than anybody. And then, of course, you have to have the talent. You got to have, the drive, you got to have the will. And I just feel like he has more things than people realize.
Exactly. And if you watch, that's a very good point. If you watch the game against the Texans, mainly the second half, and you see kind of what he kind of gave you glimpses of what he can do, how he gets rid of the ball. As a rookie, you're always going to have to learn a lot of things in the NFL. There's going to be a lot of curveballs, and like you said, he hasn't had a lot of playing time, but the ceiling is high. And one thing about, you know, it's a crapshoot when you get a quarterback like that, whether he's going to be great or not, because you don't know until he shows it. But there's not a lot of things he has to not unlearn. Like you got a lot of these quarterbacks that play 3 or 4 years and they have so many bad habits they have to unlearn before they have to learn the right habits. I feel that Trey is so raw that there's not really that many bad habits that he has to unlearn. It's all about soaking in what Kyle Shanahan is teaching him and how he's going to develop him. And I trust in Kyle Shanahan. I know a lot of 49er faithful don't like him, and yes, he there's certain things he does they kind of get on my nerve, but overall, as an offensive play caller, I think Kyle is one of the best. And if anybody can get the best out of Trey, it would be definitely him. It's just a matter of them trusting each other and that marriage for say work together. And I think it will happen. I know a lot of people, everybody wants everything right now. Everybody wants the instant, the drive through. Nobody wants to cook at home anymore. Everybody wants. I mean, we want to see Trey be an all pro right now, and it takes time to develop. I think players usually take about 3 years to kind of get a correct assessment of what they're going to be in the NFL, and we don't know what Trey's going to be. Let's be honest, but we know he's gifted, and we know he's smart. We know that he's was raised based on what we've seen, raised right by two good parents, good values, godly values, and the kid is smart and he learns quick, and we're going to have to wait and see. But I think I agree with you that he's going to surprise a lot of Niner faithful going forward. Yes, he's going to make his mistakes. Yes, he's going to do things that rookies do, but I think in year 2 or year 3, you're going to see. Look at Josh Allen. Wasn't accuracy with the ball. Came out of a small school, although he played a little bit more than Trey, but he had a lot of accuracy issues, and a lot of people, even the experts, were already tagging him as a bust, and he was not going to be good. And he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks now in the NFL for the Buffalo Bills. So, you got to give a player time to develop. Richard, and you gotta allow them to portray. Like a lot of people say that Trey Sermon is going to be a bust. I'm like, he didn't play, or Aaron Banks is going to be a bust because he was drafted at number 2 in the second round, and he didn't play. And it's like, I don't know where people are getting all these bust scenarios. Javon Kinlaw is going to be a bust because I'm like, where did people get all these scenarios of bust when these players haven't really played that 3-year mark to kind of give you an indication whether they're going to be good or bad? I don't understand. Do you understand why Niners are so in a hurry for these players to develop? I don't understand that, brother.
I think I understand a little bit. And this could only be a piece of why. But I think like it's a blessing, and then also there's negative and positive that comes from having technology. Like if we didn't have this technology platform right now, I wouldn't be able to chop it up with my good man Beto, but then I also feel like, technology helps the world become this world of right now. I want it right now.
Yep.
It's almost kind of like TikTok. You go through TikTok and it's everything is fast. It's slide to the next. Then it's everything. Everybody wants it now. Everybody wants it right this second. Patience is slowly but surely going out the window. Entitlement is more and more being put on the foundation of the youth. And it's kind of the good and the bad of social technology, just all of it. It's it's kind of funny, a year or two ago, these are parts of the reason why I was so deep into my isolation. You know, it was probably a good decade, man, like maybe even longer, where I isolated to my God, my children, and my wife. I didn't, I rarely have any friends. I would never go on social media, not know nothing, and Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance helped start a fire within myself that made me come out of my shell, made me kind of say, you know what, I'm going to scream as loud as I can that we need a franchise quarterback. And it all had to do with Trey Lance. And I almost can't believe it led me all the way to being on your show. It's kind of crazy. Um, it's a blessing for me because I try not to dive too far into it. But there are times where even me, I get addicted to the phone, or whether it be YouTube, or, the world has set it up to make you want to just always reach for it. And, there's a lot of times where I got to let myself be corrected, myself be humbled, and, realize what really matters, because man, I'm not overly optimistic because I'm a fan of the Niners. I truly believe Kinlaw still has a shot to be a great player. I believe that Aaron Banks can come and do some things. I believe Trey Sermon can come and do some things, along with a lot of others. I've truly feel like Shanahan put a lot more stock on this coming up season than he did last season. I feel like he was planning a lot more for the Trey Lance season. And NFL, get ready, because the 49ers are coming, we have a lot of guys who didn't play last year. Plus, we're going to get probably a lot more guys. And I think next year is going to be special, to say the least. Yeah, man, it's a world where everybody wants it now, so everybody's going to be quick to throw around clickbait and negativity and throw temper tantrums and be immature, and and try to contradict it and call it something else. But it is what it is. We're all on our individual walks. Prayers to everybody to keep that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. We do come in a time of era where there's a lot of negativity, and negativity is always around people, and or impatience. They want, if a player doesn't do well to their expectations as a
Yeah.
fan, they're going to be a bust. Javon Kinlaw got hurt, and he hasn't. Oh my God, we could have gotten worse instead of him in the draft, and comparisons, right? And Javon Kinlaw is a great run stopper. You know what I mean? And I think when he comes back, Eric Armstead plays so well, the three technique, that I think they can bring Javon and put him as that nose tackle, and kind of stuff the middle, and and not really have him go after the quarterback as much. But you're right. A lot of these players like Aaron Banks, who knows what Aaron Banks is going to be, but to sit there and say that he's a bust because he didn't play this year, it's there's a learning curve. Some players take a little bit longer to learn than others, but once they learn, they take off. So, and Trey Sermon, not everybody can come in like Elijah Mitchell. This kid is special. He came in, adapted to the offense, and was able to produce immediately. And those are the type of players that the 49er fan base, they want to see in all the draft picks. But if you look at John Lynch's draft picks and Kyle Shanahan's, Richard, and if we think about the Kittles in the 5th round, the Greenlaws in the 5th round, Hufanga is looking good. You got Debo in the 2nd round. You got all these. You got Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round. You got a lot of these players that, I don't know about you, but the Niners seem to draft a little bit better, in my opinion, in the later rounds than they do in the earlier rounds. So, but the whole Javon Kinlaw, it's absurd to me how people are ready to give up on him. And they're ready to give up on Aaron Banks, and that's just ludicrous to me, and I don't understand the impatience. But only time will tell, bro. But I'm excited about what this offseason is going to bring. I'm excited about the draft picks that we have, the prospects that might be coming in to help out this unit to become better. And people don't realize we were in the NFC Champ. Listen, it's amazing how people criticize Kyle Shanahan, right? And they're like, he's not that good of a coach. Well, let's see. 2 NFC championships and 1 Super Bowl. You know how many teams out there haven't sniffed an NFC championship in years? The Cowboys. What do you think the Cowboys would do to get to that NFC championship game? You got Detroit. There's never even, you got a lot of these Arizona that started amazingly, right? They were like the best team in the West. You don't think they would do anything to get into that NFC West game? And people yet have to criticize Kyle. He's not a good coach. He's not a good play caller. We were 3-5. Okay, everybody was throwing in the towel. Well, this team is pathetic. This team. I mean, I heard content creators say this team is no good. It is trash. But yet, this is the same team that lost, but went to the NFC Championship game. You don't get there by being trash. And say what you want about Jimmy Garoppolo, you don't get there by having a bad quarterback play. And a lot of people, I understand they want to win. I understand that the younger era hasn't seen a championship in such a long time. Say, I'm spoiled. I don't know how many games you were able to watch, but I got to watch all 5 Super Bowls and watch them win, and I got to enjoy each and every parade they had in San Francisco. So I'm spoiled to that, and I understand that sense of urgency of these young fans that are like, okay, I'm tired of hearing about the old trophies. I want to experience that myself. So I understand where they come from that perspective, but this team here is not a team like the Rams, even though they won and it worked for them, bringing all these players and giving up all these draft picks. And it worked. And congratulations to them. But let's be honest, that team's not going to stay in a contention for very long. Yeah, they got a Super Bowl, but the Niners are not looking just for one ring. They're looking for a few rings. They're looking to be competitive for a very long time. In order to do that, you got to develop players. You got to be patient. You got to understand that it's a process together. They started the thing with brick by brick, right? Everybody brick by brick, but suddenly it's not a brick by brick no more. It's bring the whole truck, dump all the bricks and put them together. It's not going to happen that way. The Niners are trying to establish a team that is going to win consistently, be in the playoffs for years to come. They're not trying to build a team like the Rams. And even though it worked for them, and congratulations to them, but imagine if they would have lost that game, put all that effort and all those players. And so the different teams have a way of building their roster. I like what Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch does with the 49ers. I love the way they develop. Not does every player hit like Solomon Thomas? No. Should they win for someone like Deshaun Watson at the time? Yes, but there were rookies coming in 2017, bro. So I love what the Niners are, where they're at and where they're heading with this coach and GM. I want to get your thoughts on John Lynch in particular, and what's your thoughts on Kyle Shanahan. What have they impressed to you as a fan?
Man, you got my head spinning. I'm thinking about Jerry Rice catching bricks. Um, man, hey, I think that's where it originated from. Someone like John Lynch. I can't remember the exact ties with Bill Walsh, but I just got done watching the Joe Montana series. I watched the whole entire thing straight, and all throughout my childhood and teenage years, I read books. I went back and watched ESPN Classic. I watched as much as I could. But, watching that Joe Montana series, there were a few other things I found out that I didn't know. Just how the city was down in the dirt and, how it kind of revitalized the whole entire Bay Area. That's special. I get the chills just even saying it. sometimes, people don't understand, why certain people love sports so much. It's just something that you can, you know, like on my show, I like to say faithful rise up, and I really mean that, just as far as your spirit, the community, the atmosphere, just, I think John Lynch, he came into this, from what I remember, he got tired of sitting back as an announcer and like kind of like, man, this isn't the 49ers. This isn't the 49ers legacy. I remember what Bill Walsh did with the 49ers. I remember how it was. I want to, if I remember it right, when he first came to us, he said, I want to restore the legacy, you know, um, of Bill Walsh. I don't know if that's word for word, but it's close to it. And so I feel like John Lynch got, the perfect heart for it, and Kyle Shanahan got the perfect mind for it. You haven't really heard too many disagreements between those men. My biggest thing is there have been times where I get impatient. There have been times where I make my mistakes, but when I look at everything as a whole, um, I got to remember that these guys came into these jobs, as rookies. John Lynch, a rookie GM, Kyle Shanahan, a rookie head coach, regardless of how many years you've been connected to the league, regardless of who your dad is,
Yep.
regardless of any of those things, when you step into the fire, it's a different story when the bullets are flying, so I think they're still learning. I don't think we've seen the true potential of Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch. I think I see them year by year getting better and better. For example, the one year we got a lot of injuries, the next year they made sure to have a lot better depth. Just little things like that. One year it seemed like we had some guys that were kind of nonchalant about football, kind of partying a little bit too much. The next year, it seems like we're bringing in serious men, straight up leaders. So when I look at Kyle Shanahan, I don't look at just Kyle Shanahan, but who is he bringing in? They're bringing in guys like Anthony Lynn, who I think is a straight up leader who's going to be perfect for Trey Lance. He's a big believer and he's just a very passionate man. D'Amico Ryans, ex-football player, very passionate guy. Just it seems like these younger dudes can respect those guys and they're leaders. So I think they're doing an amazing job. Like you said, you're never going to be perfect on your draft picks. People could go on, and we could talk about people keep throwing that around. Kyle Shanahan's a choker, da 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 da. The one thing I will say about Shanahan is I think he tries to get too smart. He tries to get too brilliant. Sometimes the genius move is simplicity.
Yep.
Sometimes you gotta, but I think he's getting there.
Yes.
I think he's, any one of us can grow. It doesn't matter. You could be an 80-year-old man and you could, if you're willing, if you put your pride down, if you're open and willing to correct, to apologize, to just live and grow. If you are ready to continue to live and grow and keep watering that seed, then great things are going to come. And I think they've done an amazing job, and I think they're going to continue to keep leveling up. And I think Trey Lance is going to help them level up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's either Trey Lance is going to help him level up or get him fired, one of the two. But I can guarantee. Hopefully, is the level up part. But something you said, it just resonated with me right now about how John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Keyword, they came in as rookies, and you're right. It doesn't matter who your father is, how many teams did he coach, if he was Super Bowl coach or not. You're your own person. You draw from your dad, but you're your own individual. I drew a lot of things from my dad, and God rest his soul. I learned a lot from him, but then I had to implement a lot of my own style into that. Kyle Shanahan is the same way, but he was a rookie. John Lynch, Hall of Fame player, broadcaster, but a rookie as a GM. And they both came in and listen, a rookie GM and a rookie coach, right? As you stated. We've been to one Super Bowl and two NFC championship games and their 5-year tender here. Okay. A lot of the seasons, well, I understand we only have 2 winning seasons. But those 2 winning seasons, we made it to the NFC championship. One of them we went further, one we didn't. But my point being is a lot of injuries have kind of derailed this team and the efforts of coaching. You can't coach players that are hurt. Okay. I don't care how good. I don't care if you're Bill Belichick. If your players are, look at Bill Belichick when all the players in 2020 took off for COVID. He didn't win. He's a great coach. He lost a lot of games. You need players to win. But to your point, how many teams out there have coaches that coach for years and can't get to the playoffs or the NFC championship? You got a rookie coach and a rookie GM. They came in, and keep in mind, when they came in 2017, they devoured the roster. That roster of Harbaugh was gone. They got rid of all those players. They kept, I think they only kept like 2 or 3 players. I know Joe Staley. I know it was the tight end that is not with us anymore, and I forgot another player. But
Jimmy Ward,
yeah. And they brought everyone else new. And yet they were able to get to the NFC Championship and then eventually to the Super Bowl and almost won the Super Bowl. And then to get to the NFC Championship again this offseason. This season they just passed with a rookie coach that is learning, with a rookie GM that is learning. Imagine once they learn everything they got to be and become that veteran coach, what Kyle Shanahan is going to do, especially with a quarterback of his choice. If this quarterback plans out, I'm getting goosebumps, man. If this quarterback plans out, the marriage between Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance, man, we're going to be in this competitively. We're going to own the West again. If you look at the way we're going to own, Matthew Stafford has a few more years. You got Russell Wilson's not going to play forever, and then you got Kyle Murray that we don't know what's really up with him. Trey Lance becomes the quarterback developed by Kyle Shanahan the right way, and this marriage works. We're going to be in contention for years to come. We're going to be in the playoffs. We're going to be a 10-plus win team every year, and that should excite the fan base. Stop worrying about the negativity. Stop worrying about we didn't make it to the Super Bowl this year. Stop worrying about is Javon Kinlaw going to be is he going to be a bust or not? Let's bring in positivity as a fan base. I believe you got to just, speak positivity into, say Javon Kinlaw is going to be a beast. Aaron Banks is going to be a beast. These players are going to dominate their position. Bring an attitude, a possibility to your team. Stop being so negative. Stop picking on who's going to be a bust and who's not. Let's be positive. Let's speak truth into our players, bro. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited. I know I'm all over the place, but
man, hey, I'm over here like preach. But I could see the other side saying, well, that would just be unrealistic. No, hey, man, what's unrealistic is trying to be realistic. I think sometimes people who have realistic expectations need to drop the expectations and stop with the pride, quit trying to be the smartest dude in the world, and have love and appreciation. Yes, look, if someone like Garoppolo is playing mediocre, I'm going to come out and be like, hey, you know what? I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a top 20 quarterback. That's my opinion. I gave it a few years. I seen what I seen. I don't have no problem with saying the truth if that's what I truly believe. But I ain't going to sit here and try to negatively stir some stuff up to get a rise or to get a click or to get a hit, just to waste time, just to get people to pay attention, just to stir up the conversation. Because if you say something like Kinlaw is a bust, that's untrue. That's not realistic. he hasn't even been given the proper amount of opportunity to show what he can truly do. So therefore, people, I get fired up with you, man. Hey, be positive, speak life, speak death. I can see, like I said, if you're talking about someone who has went a few years and that's your honest opinion, and if what you're saying is somewhat true, you know what I'm saying, then hey, I understand it. But if you're just saying stuff just to say stuff, uh, it's kind of different. Or I don't know exactly how to explain it, because I could sit here and say, hey, I truly believe Trey Lance is going to be a superstar. And then someone could say, I truly believe he's going to be a bust. But I kind of look at it like he has all the reasons off the field and on the field to get looked at like he could be a superstar. It's like, elaborate for me the reason, the exact specific reason on how he can be a bust. It's like if someone were to approach me like, hey, well, this is why, here, this is me breaking it down specifically why I think he's going to be a bust. Then we might be able to have a discussion and a conversation. But when you just say bust, trash, garbage, that's it, nothing to back it up, I don't want to hear none of that nonsense.
Especially coming from the fan base. Listen, let's keep it real. Like you said, let's keep it real. Um, I understand that the fan base has expectations for players, and I understand that you're not going to beat an old horse like Solomon Thomas. Okay, if I was sat here and say, you know what, if he still was on the team, if I were to sit here and say, oh yeah, he's still going to be great, he's still going to be an All Pro, then then I'm just being blinded. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm blinded. This guy came in as a top pick, third overall in the first round, did not live up to expectations, and I don't consider him a bust, but he's not going to be an All Pro. But to say that thing about Javon, and what I don't understand is this: listen, whatever Javon Kinlaw becomes, he'll become, and we'll criticize him based on how he plays. But as a 49er fan, bro, you got to be positive about your team. It's like you got to speak positivity. You got to, support your players. Like all this hate for Jimmy G is, I don't think it's unwarranted, and I don't understand why. Is he the greatest quarterback? No. Does he make mistakes? Yes. Does he make some bonehead plays? Yes. But overall, Jimmy, I mean, this guy has heart. He played with a broken thumb, with a bad shoulder, and yet he still did his best. Quiet in the locker room. They brought in a new quarterback to replace him. He didn't start all this chaos in the locker room. Listen, we brought in a new quarterback, and we still were able to get to the NFC Championship with Jimmy. It shows a lot of character from Jimmy, and we can learn character-wise how to respond like Jimmy. I understand a lot of people want Jimmy out. Okay, that's fine. That's their opinion. I think Trey Lance is a better quarterback and will be a better quarterback, but I'm not going to dismiss what Jimmy did and all the hard work that he put into this team. And I just don't know. I guess I'm just tired with all the negativity in this world that everybody right away wants to judge a player based on a few plays. Like a lot of people have called, how are you going to call Trey Lance a bust when he only played 2 games? 2 games in the NFL. Or get this. This is what I heard going around. Trey Lance is injury prone. How is he injury prone if he hasn't only played 2 games in the NFL? So it's like
that booger.
I'm not going to mention that. Yeah, and
Hey, you gotta laugh at it sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Hey, that's part of the positivity. It's like I'm not sometimes, I don't know. Back in the day, I used to get so fired up. I used to love to fight when I used to love to defend myself.
There you go.
That's what it is. I didn't like to fight. But when the challenge arose and someone thought they were going to try to intimidate or get over or bully, oh man, I was licking my chops.
Come on now.
Here we go. Thank you. I could do this out of righteousness. Yada yada yada. But nowadays it's like I've hit a different, you know what? The social technology world has taught me to laugh a lot of this stuff off, pick and choose my battles wisely, And oh man, it's just some of it's hilarious. Some of it is it's like I go through a pattern, not a pattern. I go through a series of like a little bit of frustration, try to think of a way to come back, and then just a lot of times just laugh it off. It's just like almost hilarious. Like it's because I think what Booger said is he contradicted himself. I don't know exactly the words, but it's like he said, I didn't see enough, but then came with an opinion.
Yep.
So if you didn't see enough, then how can you even have an opinion? And then the little bit that you did see, you probably barely even took a look at it. Now you're just running, bumping your gums. You got the jabber jaw, motor mouth, just moving. You know, it is a lot of people do stuff to keep ratings up, business going. It's like some marketing strategy of business, and you know, let's just keep it turning.
That's what it is. And a friend of mine and a great 49er content creator that I like to watch. His name is Jason Aponte. I like his take. He said it very well. He says he went to all the practices. He was there in camp watching. This is Jason saying he was watching Trey in camp. Burger Ferguson, whatever his name is, has never watched Trey in any practices, right? He's never watched. He never watched him closely, and yet he's going to make this statement that he's the worst quarterback out of all the quarterbacks that are coming out. It's like, where are you getting this information from? You haven't watched him play. You getting it off 2 games that he played in this year's a season. It's ridiculous. Like Jason said, I watched him. I went to practices. He put in the work. He's seen what Trey can do. And for this other guy, just because he's an ex-player, and I think a lot of ex-players, they feel like because I played football, I'm very knowledgeable about football. And that's not necessarily true. And he comes with these ridiculous saying. That's why nobody really respects him as a commentator or as an expert, because of the dumb things that he says that has nothing to back it up with. How do you back up a statement that he's going to be the worst quarterback, or he is the worst quarterback out of the 5? I don't understand that. Please explain that to me.
Yeah, like I said, man, it's just they're in that position. It's sometimes it's just I don't know. I'm almost lost for words. It's just they're at ESPN and we're just YouTubers. Like you said, it doesn't mean one guy is smarter than the other, one guy knows more than the other. It's just what doors have been opened up for you, and it is what it is. I am curious. I've never even, like I said, man, I'm still new to even social media. I've only been connected to this stuff for about a year. And so I'm still learning a lot of stuff. But man, how do you get to practices? Like, is that open to like, man, like how do you get to training camps? Do you got to have some special credentials? Like, do you know how that works?
Yeah, you have to be some part of a media source type of credentials to get into practices. Like Javier Vega. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Young kid, very knowledgeable football, in my opinion, very opinionated. But I don't know if you've seen the videos that leaked out of practice of Trey Lance. Oh, yeah. He's the one that leaked it out. It was his videos that he took. I believe, like Jason Aponte and so many others, have credentials to be there and to watch certain practices. But overall, it's them just going there and watching and putting in the work. But I think you have to have credentials, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think just anybody can go. But I think if you're like a beat writer and you write columns about, I think you can get a credential. It's not hard to get. You just got to connect with the right people. But, like Jason Aponte said, he's just a YouTuber. He's not an ex-player. He's not this big ESPN NFL Network guy. But I'd rather listen to Jason Aponte that watched the Niners practice, that were there day in and day out putting in the work, than listen to someone like Burger Ferguson that hasn't even watched probably a Niner game. You know what I mean? So you can't put too much into an expert, so-called expert, when they don't watch the team. They don't follow the team. They just go based on highlights. And if the Niners had a bad week, suddenly all the players are bad. If the Niners had a good week, but this is the fact that I want to make. I want to say that the fact that these experts are talking about Trey Lance or talking about this player or that player means that the 49ers are on the radar as a team that is contention, because I guarantee you they don't talk about the Detroit Lions very often. They don't talk about golf in Detroit. They don't talk about these teams that are no good in the NFL. The fact that they're talking about, even if they're talking negatively, the 49ers are in their mouth because the 49ers are in contention. And I'm okay with that, because they have to realize the Niners are here and they're not going to go away. And everything's about clicks. Everything's about, bringing people, whether if it's negative or positive, as long as people are talking about it, the show rating goes up. So they're going to make comments like that. But I tell 49er faithful and those that listen, don't go based on what these guys say. I seen so many people hit me up on email. Hey, Niner Sickness, did you hear Burger say about Trey? Oh my God, what's going to happen about Trey? Are you concerned? I'm like, why would I be concerned about Trey based on, and then, in no disrespect to Joe Montana, okay? Love Joe Montana, the GOAT, 4 Super Bowls with us, but you got to take everything with a grain of salt. He made statements too that Trey wasn't ready and so forth. How many games do you really believe that Joe Montana really watched of Trey Lance? I think Joe Montana got kicked out of the 49ers by Steve Young, or young rookie Steve Young, and I think Joe Montana is more like sticking up for the Jimmy G, getting kicked out for the young kid more than anything. He made it more personal, in my opinion. But I don't know how much tape he's really involved himself in watching about Trey to make that assessment about Trey. And I respect Joe as a player, but not necessarily everything he says outside of football.
Yeah, I think there's two little things. I think one, that's a little shot at the 49ers. And then you know what? How much doubt and negativity did Joe Montana get, even in college? How much doubt and negativity did he get that fueled him to be one of the greatest of all time? Some of the greatest players, Tom Brady, hey, even Steph Curry. Steph
Yep.
Curry even went down in the draft. Joe Montana, those guys had extra chips on their shoulders.
Yes.
And like Elijah Mitchell calls it, they reported Elijah Mitchell and said, "Do you got a chip on your shoulder?" He said, "No, I got a chip on my heart," because someone could take that chip off your shoulder. So props to Elijah Mitchell, because I like that.
That's good.
I feel like Trey Lance, along with all the other things that I said about him off the field, on the field, leadership, eating right, all those things, he got a chip on his heart, man. He's been told his whole life by his, I think, 3rd grade teacher, you're not going to be an NFL player, and then, okay, now he's going to be an NFL player. You're never going to be a quarterback. You're going to play this. You're going to play. So once you have that mentality for so many years, that mentality isn't going away. I don't care how much money you get. I don't care. I'll speak for myself personally. I lived in some of the most poor situations you could possibly be in. And now I'm living in a very, very comfortable situation. I got to live on both sides of the track, from the worst of the worst to, I ain't going to say the best of the best, but my humbleness before I came into living successfully, I've had so many people come to me, "Hey, Rich, just don't ever change. Hey, Rich, just don't ever change," yada, yada, yada. I was like, hey, if this town of Vallejo couldn't beat me, and, if Vallejo couldn't drag me down, I don't know. It just made me who I am, to where I'm always going to have a humble heart. I'm always going to have a mentality of, if there's a will, there's a way. Before I go spend $30 on something, I try to invent it. I try to make it. I try to, and not even being cheap minded. I just got that mentality of just kind of to improvise, to overcome, to rise up, to just get things done. And man, I know I got a little off topic, but I think we're going to see that from, guys like Trey Lance for sure, man. I think he's just always going to have that kind of spirit where he's going to want to prove, not just prove people wrong, but like just like in competition with himself almost to just see what he can truly do when he believes in something greater than himself.
Exactly. And key word that came to mind when you were speaking is a mindset. What is your mindset? This kid was, like you said, was told by a coach he'll never make it in the NFL. And things like this, they drive you. They're fuel. They're fuel to drive you, to prove people wrong. Because, when people tell you you're not going to amount to nothing, when you're not going to do this or nothing. And there's two ways of taking this. You can let it affect you and drag you down and, woe is me attitude. Or you can build each negativity thrown your way and use it as a block to go forward. And you build on negativity and take it and go forward and prove people wrong. And this is what I see in Trey Lance: is kid smart, raised by a good dad and mom, good values. You see the way he speaks, and you know that this kid's going to develop into a great player. We don't know what he's going to be. We don't. But what I do know is that they picked a kid that has values, morals, that has a chip in his heart, like Elijah Mitchell said, that is willing to prove everyone. And maybe not everyone. Maybe he wants to just prove it to himself that I can do this. I can be that Hall of Fame quarterback. Listen, before Joe Montana, there was no Joe Montana. Joe Montana had to come out and prove himself and become what Joe Montana was. Tom Brady, everybody sees him as the GOAT, which he is. 7 Super Bowls, which is hard to come by. Yet he was drafted in the 6th round. Okay, not everybody saw him as a potential. I mean, back then, if you would have said Tom Brady was going to win 7 Super Bowls and be in the Hall of Fame, probably first ballot, they would have laughed. They would have laughed at you. But yet he proved that hard work, discipline, commitment, and a fire that burns within you pays off. And that's what I see in Trey Lance. I see this young kid that is going to prove everyone wrong. He's going to come in, discipline himself, and try to be the best quarterback there is. And listen, I understand the Tom Brady talk. I understand that Aaron Rodgers. I understand that you want to win now. But this kid needs reps. He needs reps, and he needs it badly. One thing people had tell me, what do you think Trey Lance learned from Jimmy G? He's not how to throw interceptions. They were kind of being sarcastic, right? I'm like, you know what? Again, everything is based on how you see perspective. You're looking at it as Trey Lance learned how to throw interceptions by Jimmy. You know what I learned? You know what I said? I believe Trey Lance learned how to be a professional, how to act under fire. Jimmy taught Trey how to be a man, how to endure criticism, how to play to the best of your ability when everybody is talking negative about you, how not to complain in the locker room, how to be that team player. And these are valuable things that you can't teach a young man on the field. So Trey did not learn a lot of football skill sets from Jimmy, but he learned a lot how to deal with negativity, because there's going to be a day where he's going to have a bad game and faith are going to turn on him. How is he going to respond? He's going to be able to recall. I remember when Jimmy G was being attacked, and I seen how he handled it. So I'm going to learn how to handle it this way. These are the things that people don't see that he learned from Jimmy, that he can go and put in his belt and grow from it. You know what I mean?
Hey, exactly. I remember when I very first, like I said a year ago, I didn't even know Facebook groups for 49er Facebook groups even existed. I didn't know how many YouTubers, like none of it. I was completely oblivious. And when I very first started, I was going to war with everybody. If someone barely said something about Kaepernick, I'm going to war about morals and values and just, standing up for righteousness. I was like just writing books. I wasn't even writing paragraphs. I was going all the way in. But, it taught me to, I learned to, pick and choose my battles, never come out of character. If someone's really going to upset you, they kind of own you.
Yep.
And to just, there's a time and place for everything. And on top of it, I'm not better than nobody. I'm never going to be, regardless of where I am in my life or where I am, once upon a time, I've learned a lot. Every other word was a lot of stupid stuff coming out of my mouth. So I've learned a lot from all this, man, just how to speak with people. Before I hop on shows, man, I used to be stuck in so much of isolation that I get nervous before I hop on a show. I might seem like I do well, but I'm still learning to, even come out of some of these things. So I know, someone like Trey Lance, we got to remember that these guys are human. Like, not only imagine how much pressure that would have been on him, he's still getting used to the atmosphere of the surroundings that he's in. He's been in Minnesota his entire life. You come to the Bay Area, he's still trying to find a place to live. I'm sure he's got that figured out now, but you're juggling, trying to even get accustomed with your atmosphere, mixed with the drama, mixed with trying to perform on the field, mixed with the media, the spotlights, the learning the playbook. That's a lot. I think sometimes we forget, that these guys are human. They actually have lives besides football. I know you get paid a lot of money, so I know they invest a lot of time into this, but the more and more I took a step back and looked at it, I was like, hey, that was a perfect thing for him to not play. I was super impatient and was like, oh man, Trey should start no matter what. And then the more I kind of, looked at it from a bigger picture, I was like, no, that was perfect. Hey, you know what? One thing I do know, it's not on our time or anybody else's time. There's only one person, that runs the time of what happens in all of our lives, and it's not us. And as long as he stays focused on the right things, man, I don't think there's no ceiling. A lot of times we like to say, hey, has he reached his ceiling? Some people, I don't think there's any ceiling. So I can't wait.
Absolutely.
I cannot wait.
And then we're getting to a point of closing, but you're right. It's the ceiling is whatever he wants to make it. How much work he puts in, how much effort he puts in. Everybody creates their own ceiling, and you can go as far as you want to go. At the end of the day, the only person that can stop you is you. No one else can. And I see this kid being positive. I see I like the Elijah Mitchells, the George Kittles, of the Debos. You notice that there's no murmuring, complaining on this team. Nobody backbites nobody. Everybody appreciates each other. I understand there's probably a lot of division in the locker room where some people like Trey more than Jimmy when Jimmy was, but nobody came out publicly. You didn't hear no scrutiny of the Niners. Why? Because John Lynch is not going to have none of that. He don't care who you are. He's always going to make sure this team is brought up the right way. And I love his attitude that it brings as a GM combined with Kyle Shanahan as a coach. I love this organization. I love that Jed York is not butting in anymore. He's kind of just signing the checks and letting these guys run the team. And I have so much confidence in the 49ers going forward. But a lot of people say, well, this or that. Listen, if Trey Lance plans out, if he becomes the quarterback that I believe he will be, that a lot of us believe that he will be, we're going to be in for a great, fun football with the Brandon Ayuk's, with Deebo Samuel, and who knows who they're going to bring in in the draft. But this team is going to be exciting to watch. Just be patient, be positive, and support. You don't, I mean, I understand you criticize players based on how they play. I'm not saying be blind to it, but support your team. The thing with me, I'll sit there and criticize Jimmy for the things that he did wrong. But I'm going to support him because he's my quarterback until he's not. I have his jersey right here. And, you know, I'm going to support him until he's not.
What do you think about McGlinchey?
McGlinchey, you know, a lot of people have, you know, he's a hard one. And I think a lot of people based a lot of things where he was drafted. I guarantee if McGlinchey was drafted in the low first round, it wouldn't be speaking so much of him, of the type of player that he is. If you look at is he the best right tackle? No. But if you look at all the right tackles available in the NFL, PFF always had him at a high rating. You know, does he make boneheads? Does he give up some sacks? Yes. He's better against the run than he is against the pass. But I'm always that type of believer that you don't know what you have until you don't have it anymore. We've seen what Compton was able to do. And let's be honest. If I had to choose between Tom Compton and Mike McGlinchey, I'm not picking Mike. I'm not picking Tom Compton. That's just me, though. I like McGlinchey. You know, do we wish we had a better upgrade? Yes. I'm kind of up and down, but at the end of the day, I support him as a player for the Niners. Now, when he makes great plays, I'm gonna bring that out. When he doesn't, I'm gonna speak of it. But overall, I think he's a good player. I think he's better than other players out there. Now, if we can find someone that it's hot, you know, a lot of people say we should cut him. Okay, that's fine. If you want to cut him, fine. But tell me who you're going to bring in to replace him that is better than him. Don't tell me just we're going to cut him because you don't like him. Do you really want to settle with Tom Compton? I don't. So until you can talk to me about a player that is a better version of Mike McGlinchey, then we can talk moving on. A lot of people wanted to get rid of Jimmy before Trey. Well, who were you going to replace Jimmy with? Nick Mullins? Heck no. But now that you have Trey, now you can move on. You bring if they draft a tackle that potentially is better than Mike, then we talk about pushing Mike out. But until then, my personal opinion, Mike is not the greatest, but he's decent enough to play for my Niners. That's my thought of him. What's your thoughts of him?
Kind of same here. Like if I broke it down as simple as I could, which is kind of rare for me. I think he's a little too tall.
Okay.
That's just, me personally, I like that lower center of gravity, like a DJ Jones. I know he's on the defensive side, but you see guys like that, and it's hard to move them around. It's hard to get them out of position to, that's all I really got to say about that. I brought him up because I know a lot of people like to talk negatively about McGlinchey, and I used to talk a lot more negatively about him, than I do today. But, I was just trying to, because I am so positive and I am so optimistic. I was trying to go through my mind of, it's like, hey, let me play the other side. Is there anybody I could really kind of call out that's not doing – like, I'm not going to go say something about Jaquiski Tartt because because he had one bad play. I mean, this man could have, 900 good plays out of 1,000, and we're going to focus on
one negative play. Yes.
It's like he's not the greatest, but he's not, he is solid. He is a solid player. I truly believe that at some point in time, I would like to see us have an all-pro, whether it be at safety or cornerback. I just think back on Rodney Lotz, Tim McDonald's, Merton Hanks, all of our Super Bowl winning teams. We've had at least one all-pro in the secondary. I understand we're building this thing in the trenches, If you have more defensive linemen, it's going to protect your secondary. I get all the layers of it. But regardless of that, at some point in time, you're going to have a playmaker. A
Yes.
playmaker, and not even just a playmaker, but someone who is kind of like a Fred Warner who can see what's coming. You know, I want that guy in the secondary that's not just solid, but they can scream out, they can vocalize, they can communicate. They're a veteran there, and not only a veteran with a good mind that can place people, see things happening before it happens with the anticipation, but also not after they anticipate it, make a play on it. You know, I feel like the 2019 season, if I remember right, it feels like we were making some pick sixes. It feels like our turnovers were a lot better. You know, hopefully we definitely need to grab somebody in the draft or free agency when it comes to the secondary. That's my true belief. That was my biggest concern going into last year, was if one of our cornerbacks get injured, ironically enough, Verrett goes down. Now we're stuck with Norman. You know, he did all right for who he is. You know, he did force a lot of fumbles. Yes, he got a lot of PIs, got burned. You know, he's a veteran. What did we expect? At the same time, that's a position we definitely got to shore up, is offensive line. If Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks don't pan out, we're going to need some help on the offensive line and in the defensive secondary for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Richard. You know, Tart. You mentioned Tart. You know, on that one bad play. I mean, can you imagine playing in the NFC Championship game? You know, I think that ball, it was like we seen it in real time. The ball hit him in the chest, drops, and he made incompletion, right? But imagine being him, and that ball's coming right at you. Everything slows down. Everything's like the pressure, right? The pressure and everything's going through your head. But nobody mentions the plays that he did against Green Bay to help us get to the NFC Championship game. Now, is he a ball hawk? No. Do we need a ball hawk in our secondary? Yes. We need that player that it's always taking the ball away from the opposing offense. But I like what Tart brings. I love what Jimmy Ward brings. I know the Niners don't focus so much on corners. I know that's not a priority for them based on what we've seen Kyle and John Lynch. It's in the trenches. They don't value corners as important as they do the linemen. Now, I know the Niners like to keep everything in the middle. They're not too concerned on the outside. The way the game is played now, everything's in the middle. So they covenant safeties more than they do corners. But I agree with you, Rich. I would like to see that Deion Sanders, that Richard Sherman in his prime corner, the Rebus type of corner in this on this team. I understand everything's based on scheme. Our defense is based on scheme. I understand that, and it's built in the trenches. But I agree with you. I would love to see that. What was the name of the player that played for the Hawks? He left. He's not playing anymore. He had some personal issues, but he went to the Ravens, and then he was cut from the Ravens. Thomas.
You said the Hawks?
Yeah, the Seahawks. He was a safety. Can't think of his name. Thomas.
Oh yeah, or not Earl. Is it
Earl Thomas? Yeah, Earl Thomas. Yeah, Earl Thomas. Say what you say, he was a beast at safety, a ball hawk. I would love to. Yeah. I would love to have players like that on the secondary. So you're right. I know we're a scheme defense. I understand we build in the trenches, but I would like to see the Niners bring in someone or go after someone that has the potential to be that playmaker on the secondary. But if I tell the Niner fans this, if they draft a lineman, defensive lineman, don't be disappointed in the Niners because this is something they showed to do. I would get extra excited if they went for a corner, especially if it's a good corner or safety out there with their first pick. I would be fired up for that, but I will be okay. I understand the trend that the Niners would go either offensive line or defensive line, and it's been working. I mean, listen, Jason Verrett went down. Okay. That's kind of sucks. But they're developing Emery Thomas. He looks like he's going to be eventually a good player, steady player.
Yeah.
You have Emmanuel Mosley back there. So if you look at it, a lot of people seem we need depth. If anything else, we need depth in our secondary. But
Yes.
I'm not concerned too much about our secondary. Would I love a playmaker? Yes, but I'm not too concerned because we have players that can play, and we're develop. Lenore, I think he's going to be a great. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Not an outside corner, but a nickel. Yeah, nickel corner. Thank you. You know, on the inside, that is going to potentially take K1 Williams' job. You know, and I think he's going to play great there. I think he got exposed when they had to play him on the outside. I think he's more on the inside type of corner. So I like to see that in him, and I love what I have, what I seen in Everett Thomas, Emmanuel Mosley. Now, if we can bring a vet in free agency that can be support to that second, that'll be great. Or if we draft, again, the fan in me wants to see a playmaker, right? A Earl Thomas,
Yeah.
a Deion Sanders type of corner back there. But as long as we can, you know, if you look at our defense and against the pass, ironically, with all the injured players in our secondary, right? We lost Jason Verrett game one. We had, oh my God, Josh Norman back there. Okay. Yet against the pass, we were I think top 5 against the pass with that secondary. So obviously the Niners are doing something right back there.
See, my thing is when look, it's gonna look amazing on the stats, right? Like you could because our front, you mix a front seven with a solid back, your stats are gonna be amazing. But when it comes down to NFC championships or Super
Ah,
Bowl time or
yes.
playoff time, you're gonna run into the Cooper Cups. You're gonna run into the Tyreek Hills.
Very good point.
You're going to run into those shifty top 5 quarterbacks and top 5 receiver tandems that it's all good until it isn't. So it's like when that time comes, when we're matched up with a Tyreek Hill, a Cooper Cup, or a Devontae Adams, which the weather had a lot to do with that versus the Packers. But that's when we're gonna. It would be 20 times better if we had that number one guy to match up with that guy. If we had, I'm just throwing a name out there, but if we had a Jalen Ramsey, if we had I'm thinking of any other really good cornerbacks, I can't think of none off the top of my head. But if you have that go-to guy that can match up with one of those guys, because when it comes Super Bowl time, man, it feels like that's when we get beat is by one of those receivers. It feels like a lot of times. And then toward the ender part of the season, the trenches, like we're going to run out of gas. There's going to come a game or two where we might run out of a little bit of steam because of how hard we're going all year long. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's so many different layers on how to break it down, how to split it up. That's just my true belief is we got to eventually be able to match up when it comes to Super Bowl time.
Now, a very good point, and I agree. But let me ask you a question. Ramsey, you mentioned him. Great corner, top 3 corner out there. But in this Super Bowl, he got cooked. Okay, he got cooked. What won that game was the front 7 of the Rams, and given that Cincinnati's offensive line was atrocious, that didn't help. But that front line with Aaron Donald and the Miller putting pressure,
Hey,
even though Ramsey got cooked, they still won
hey,
that game on the trenches.
hey, Cup, hey, look at, hey, if there was an MVP for the Rams, it was Cooper Cup, throughout the whole entire year. That's kind of what did us, that's what we had issues with. The first time we beat him in LA to get into the playoffs, he was killing us. I mean,
Yeah,
we squeaked out
he's
of
a
there.
special player.
Jimmy Garoppolo had an amazing drive. at the end, Jawan Jennings overtime, but it was Cooper Kupp that was tearing us apart. It's just, man, there's so many, it's not just football. It's 11 on 11. There's 53 men on each side. So, I mean, we could go on and on and on, but I just feel like we have to have a little bit of an upgrade. I love Ambry Thomas. Emmanuel Mosley, amazing season, didn't give up a touchdown. But if one of those guys go down, we're in trouble again.
True. Now, let me ask you this. I want your honest opinion. If you had to choose a corner in the draft or a defensive end to play opposite of Bosa, and there was a guarantee that both of those players were going to be an all-pro, play at the position, a corner or a defensive end next to Bosa, and you were on the board, and both of these players were available to you, who would you take? A top corner or a top defensive end to mix with Bosa?
Cornerback. Now, look, if we did not have Bosa, I would go defensive end.
Okay.
But because we have Bosa, because we have hopefully a DJ Jones, because we have an Armstead, because we have potentially a Arden Key, a Omenihi, because we have all those guys, if one or two of our guys get hurt, we got other guys that's going to step in.
Fair enough.
Now, because we don't have that in the secondary, I want the secondary. I feel like there's two pieces I always talk about, quarterback and cornerback. If there's injury to those two positions, it's hard to come back from, because the defense, they're going to lick their chops, and they're going to do like what Ryan Fitzpatrick did to us, the Miami Dolphins. Mm-hmm. We had injuries to cornerback first snap of the game. What was it, 2 years back? He's dicing us up. Colt McCoy comes in here, dicing us. It's just, I know it happens. Sometimes it just happens no matter how good you are. But I feel like that's the way we do get beat sometimes, is when those offensive coordinators get the licking their chops on us, So if we didn't have the depth we had on the defensive line, I would say opposite. But right now, cornerback all the way.
Now, you mentioned those two losses against Miami and against the Cardinals. Yeah. Let me ask you, in those two losses, the front four did not play to par, right? Mm-hmm. They were playing bad. And again, I guess I'm more in the trenches, so I hear your point, and I agree with you 100% about having the top corner back there. But I just think that, and I have a friend of mine, his name is Nathaniel, and he's a big secondary guy. He believes secondary, you start from the secondary and you build it towards the front. I'm a believer that you start from the front and you build it to the back. Now, I understand that if you can have both. Now, we do have Nick Bosa as a key defensive end, so I understand your perspective of why not have a key player in our secondary to match up, and that makes sense. But I just think if you have two powerhouses on each side of that D-line in front, and then you have a decent interior lineman, you're going to bring havoc so much that even the ordinary corners will look like all pros back there. Because you can have the Ramseys, you can have all these top corners, but if the quarterback has all the time in the world, Ramsey's going to get cooked. Teams are going to get cooked. I'm the cornerback, so I hear you. I hear you about the corners, and I think we should have a top corner. But I guess I'm just built in the trenches. Just build it. You go after the quarterback, and if you can disrupt them, and I'm not so much in sacks. People are like sacks, this, and I'm more about pressures. I'm about pressuring the quarterback, throwing him off his game, get into his head where he feels the footsteps, and he's not playing at par. When you can disrupt a quarterback like that, I don't care who the quarterback is. Look at, for example, Aaron Rodgers, MVP for the last few years, great quarterback. Look what the defense. Now, our offense played atrocious in this NFC champion in the divisional game, but our defense, I mean, they couldn't do. They scored 7 points on us. to start off the game, and they couldn't do nothing else, and all they got is 3 points and almost three the whole game 3 points, bro, with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I understand it was cold, but they're used to that weather. Okay, they had Devontae Adams, they have all this, and they were only able to score 10 points against this defense. Why? Because the pressure was up there, putting pressure on Aaron and disrupting him. So I'm a big guy. I would choose another defensive end to pair up with Nick Bosa, because I do believe that you got to bring in the pressure from the outside so the quarterback can step in, and then they'll step in right into Eric Armstead and DJ Jones or Javon Kinlaw, and they'll just eat. But that's just me. I'm okay with ordinary play like Embry Thomas and Emmanuel Mosley in the secondary if I can have two Bosas in the front. But this is the beautiful thing about being fans, right? We all have our tastes and we all have our likes. It doesn't make me better or right, or doesn't make you better or right. It just means that you covenant more the secondary and I do the front trenches. But you make a very solid point. We do have both.
I was going to say, not necessarily, man. It's like, I believe in the trenches, but it feels like it's more based on, I feel like we have 7 pieces on our defensive line and we only have, I feel like it needs a little bit more balance. So that's more my, if I'm building the team from the beginning, I'm definitely going in the trenches and cornerback or quarterback. I would do it a lot like the San Francisco 49ers have already done. Maybe this is the year where we start addressing the secondary. Either way, I'm not going to be upset. I got so much faith, belief, and trust in what we're doing. It looks like we continue to get better. So it's like, yeah, I'm all good with it, So
As long as we win, bro, that's all that matters.
Hey, that's all. Hey, even if we get a wide receiver, we could use help at all those positions. Defense, hey, man, you can never have enough good players, but it seems like offensive line, D line, wide receiver, cornerback, hey, thank God I hope, and I believe we have the quarterback position taken care of. So we're in good hands, man.
Before we close, and because I didn't realize we're getting to the 2-hour mark. Wow, how fast time flies when you're having fun, right? Listen, we have Debo that has developed to that receiver, kind of all-purpose player. I know Brandon Ayuk is going to be great, but those are the only 2 receivers that are under contract right now. Everybody else has to be brought in, like the Juwan Jennings has to be re-signed and so forth. Would you be shocked if the Niners brought in someone like Christian Watson, the receiver for Trey Lance, that he feels comfortable with as that security blanket in the first pick in the second round with the 61 overall, knowing that they can go secondary or defensive end, but they took him for Trey to show Trey that they believe in him? Or do you think they don't have to do that to show Trey that they believe in him? Because you got to surround them. No, let me rephrase it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. They believe in him, obviously. But let me rephrase that because that came out wrong. It sounds like they need a receiver to believe in him. But do you think that they need to bring help at receiver for him? Or do you think we have enough on our roster? I should have said it that way. I apologize for interrupting.
No, yeah, we definitely need more. Just because, injuries happen. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully, like CG says, what's up, my man? Hopefully we bring Juwan Jennings back. But, anything can happen to anybody. And I feel like the 2 places that we might have the least amount of depth is wide receiver and cornerback. So I would not be mad at a Christian Watson. I seen that man taking some of those jet sweeps.
Yeah, bro.
I started thinking about a taller Debo and sometimes I get over amped up, I guess, but I started just picturing it and I just started like, man, hey, I know sometimes the popular name gets brought up and it feels like you want to hop on the bandwagon, but once I started watching tape of him, I was like, hey, I will not be mad at that at all. I don't think you have to bring in someone to appease Trey Lance. But it would be amazing. That would be, I think that would be really cool. I think that would definitely, when you have a friendship, look at the friendship between Joe Montana and Dwight Clark. that's kind of what propelled them to be as good as they were together, because they're on the play field started really igniting because of their off the field, how good of friends they were. And those things matter. So, hey, man, there's a lot of free agents as well, man. There's some fast guys. There's still some Sammy Watkins, John Ross. There's Emmanuel Sanders, AJ Green, Greg Ward. There's a lot, man. There's so many different ways we could get players. We're going to see how it all unfolds. I do think that we're going to address all the areas that we talked about. I think we're going to pick up some receivers. We're probably not going to be able to sign all of our guys, but we're probably going to see a lot of movement at the defensive line, wide receiver, and cornerback. I wouldn't doubt it if, we see some activity in all three of those spots for sure.
Definitely. Like David said, Christian Watson, 6'5", 207 pounds. What this guy does with the jet sweeps, I see like the Niners are getting back to what they wanted to do with Jalen Hurd. Jalen Hurd never really developed to that receiver because of his injury, but I can see a Christian Watson kind of playing. Can you imagine Christian Watson and Debo?
Man.
Back there, bro, running these reverse plays, and oh my goodness, the defense will know who to defend. And then you have Brandon Ayuk going long, and then you have Kittle. Oh my
people
God.
keep wanting what's his name, Cornell Patterson. It's I like
that.
There's so many ways to split it. It's like there's so many directions you could go, and then I'm like, hey, what? Let's just go get Christian Watson, and then but people are like, hey, well, I want to put that value on the defensive line. Well, let's go get a Dante Fowler. There's so many different directions we could go in. I think we're going to address all the areas that we need to, and we're going to see something explosive and something special next year. Not just because I want to see it. It just looks like that's the direction we're headed in. The whole, we're not projected to be one of the top 5 teams to have a chance to win a Super Bowl for no reason. Yeah. We still have all pro players all over the field, besides cornerback. We probably got an all pro at every single position, and that's with my belief of Trey Lance as well.
Well, yes, absolutely. And just again, when you say all pros, kind of I'll lead off with this as we end the show. I'm fired up, bro. I don't know if you're busy. I don't know what your schedule is. So I'll let you off based on how busy you are. But I love talking football. I enjoy football. But Trent Williams, an old pro, the best left tackle in the NFL. And all we gave up was a 3rd and a 5th to get him. That speaks volumes about John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. To give up a 3rd and a 5th for an all pro, best left tackle in the NFL. Again, Joe Staley retires. Great tackle. I love Joe Staley, but we definitely got an upgrade to him at his position. Oh, yeah. And this is what I love about what the Niners do. The Niners are building this team the right way. Be patient. But out of all the free agents, who I want the Niners to bring to this team is DJ Jones and Lincoln Tomlinson. And I'm a firm believer that the best free agent ever is your own guys, because you know what you have in your guys. You know what they're capable of doing. If we bring nobody from the outside and we can re-sign DJ Jones, re-sign Lincoln Tomlinson. I know it's a stretch because you got Miami with money going to be pulling at Lincoln. You got the Jets trying to pull DJ, so we're going to see what happens. But I would love to bring those 2 guys back and maybe bring Arden Key. I think Arden Key started to develop very well under the tutelage of Chris Kasarik. We didn't really do much with the Raiders, but he came to the Niners under Chris Kasarik and got 6 sacks. I can see him getting better. I hope that he's a smart kid and realize, you know what? I'm going to stay with the Niners for another 2 years to keep developing my skill set and then get paid as a player, to oppose to leaving for some extra change this season, all season, and not being as good because you're not under Kasarik's thumb, in my opinion.
Man, you made my brain go. You just made me remember something I completely forgot. But I went to the Texan game, where Trey Lance started. The third ever game I ever went to, not by choice. If it was up to me, I would have went to hundreds of games. But um, when you said Arden Key, uh, sometimes I catch little details. And to me, I never used to think this way 5, 10 years ago. But um, I'm pretty sure, or I don't like to talk about anybody personally, but before the game had got started, I believe, he was saying what's up to his family. Um, I was real close, about 11 rows back, but I seen what I believed. If I made a guess, I believe I seen his wife and his child, and him saying what's I don't know. I catch a little glimpse of someone for a moment, and I think those things matter. He just seemed like a really good family man. I hope what I'm saying is actually true. As far as I'm pretty sure it was Arden Key and who I've seen, and they walked right past me, and just the happiness amongst what I seen. I think those things matter, man. And when you're doing well in your life, you know, um, kind of like the Dwight Clark and the Joe Montana thing, it's gonna show on the field when you got that extra spark. It kind of reminds me of when I first had my son. There were a lot of things I was doing wrong. I was young. I was 20 years old, had my son. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things I was doing wrong, but that extra spark, elevated me to do better things and try harder in a lot of different areas. So when you brought up Arden Key, I completely forgot what I had seen when I went to that game, but you made me remember it. So I wanted to share it. And yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Arden Key is a special player. I think he was misutilized in Oakland or Vegas now, Raiders, and I think so those are the guys that I want to bring back, Richard. And hopefully the Niners can I'm a big fan of DJ Jones. I like this kid ever since we drafted him in the 6th round. Like, I got his jersey. He's never been that. He's not that like that Pro Bowl player, but he's that consistent player that just plugs in the hole and does his job. That blue collar worker that you can depend on. Maybe driving a Ferrari is nicer than driving a Honda, but at least Hondas can be a car you can depend on to go to work. And that's what I see DJ Jones is, a very dependable player at his position. So if he gets more money somewhere else, I completely understand. You got to take care of your family. Your family comes first. So I would not be upset. But I would love to, hopefully the Niners do right and bring him back. But they're going to have to, and this is why the whole Jimmy G coming back to the Niners this year is kind of ludicrous, because they need that money to get other players back. And then we still have Debo we have to sign, and Nick Bosa. And, Nick Bosa is going to demand at least $30 million per year. You know what I mean? If you saw the last defensive player that got paid is getting what, 28. I'm trying to think of the player, but what's his name from the Steelers? Watt, yeah. So, and his brother got 25 earlier. So about 30 is probably about the range that Bosa's going to get with us. And then you got Debo at what, maybe 18 per year. So you got to find a ways to bring that money in. So, but anyway, it's been up at the 2-hour mark, bro. My wife says that I can talk the years off a wooden Indian. So I can talk forever, but I understand that we have lives to go to and the viewers. So, we have a lot of viewers watching. I appreciate all the viewers for coming in, commentating, being part of this podcast. I really, really enjoyed myself today with you, Richard. It was fun. We definitely got to do this more often, brother. I think it'll be fun. Maybe I go on your channel back and forth. I think it'll be fun to do so. But it was an honor and a privilege to have you as a guest. I appreciate you, brother. Is there anything you want to say to my viewers? And also at the end, let them know how they can follow you and what your channel's about. But if anything you want to say before we go ahead. The platform is yours.
I appreciate you, man. I've been watching you along with a few other guys for quite a while now. Um, I kind of, before this journey of even hopping on social media, like I said, I did a lot of isolation and it wasn't fun, you know, just a lot of stuff happened in my life to where it made me just not want to trust a lot of people and, stay closed off and stay to myself. And, so I appreciate, just feel blessed to be able to be on your show, to be able to have faced some of my fears and create my own. If anybody is ever thinking about doing something like this, shoot the shot. You don't got to be perfect. Just be who you are, do what you do. Don't care about no negativity. Just if you really love it and it is something you like to do, shoot the shot, man. I appreciate you, Beto. Anytime, man. You want to hop on my show, I'll hop on your show. I got a tremendous amount of respect for you. Um, yeah, man. So it's all good. Yeah, my show is Celts Chronicle. And it's just all about 49ers. I've been passionate about them my whole entire life. I'm still growing into my channel. I'm going to continue to get more stable with my channel and it's going to continue to grow regardless. So, who knows exactly what direction it's headed into, but I do lives and just chop it up about the 49ers. I love to read everybody's comments, involve everybody's opinions, and just let the faithful have a voice. So,
I appreciate that, bro. And before I close, I just want to always let my viewers know that football is fun. It's a sport that it's a hobby that we like to do. Again, if you want to start your YouTube channel, I support you to do so. Like Super Gremlin Production, he's starting his first channel in YouTube. So go and follow him, Super Gremlin Productions. Follow him and support the young man. He's 15 years old and he's doing what he did. Listen, whether you have one follower or a million followers, as long as you're passionate of what you do, do it for yourself, most importantly, and everybody else will follow. I want to give everybody an opportunity to understand, to know this, that I know a lot of people struggle with depression. I know a lot of people struggle with a lot of things in life. Life isn't easy. I know that we can show a face on camera or look like we have it all together, but in the back burners, we're falling apart and we're not what we perceive to be because we all struggle with life. I just want to encourage you that if you need to reach out to me for prayer, if you need to reach out to me for guidance, I am here. I'm a Christian. I'll never hide from that. I'm a born again Christian. I love my Lord Jesus Savior. Everybody knows my testimony. I know this is football and we talk football, but keeping it real, there are people that are hurting. There are people that are hurting out there. There are people that are dealing with a lot of things, man, and they don't know how to deal with it. And I just want to just be able to reach out to you by email, whatever it is. If you need to talk, I am here for you to support you the best that I can and pray for you, man. It's not just about football. It's about life as well. So if you need prayer, you know my email, ninersickness@yahoo.com. If you're going through anything, man, I'll be here to be a friend. Sometimes it's just having a ear to listen is good enough, man. But I want to always say that to my viewers, that I'm here for you if you need that type of talk. Again, Richard, thank you so much for being part of my show. Love you, man. I look forward to doing this again. I love you being a man of God that you are. Continue to do you, man. Continue. Listen, I know that doing what you're doing today is not easy. I don't know you personally, but I can tell you struggled a lot inwardly. And I know that it took a lot of courage for you to be doing what you're doing today. But that makes me exciting to know that with God, all things are possible. And if we can put our trust in him and not upon our own understanding, we can do all things. And I admire that you're on here today on my show. I admire that you're doing what you're doing on your show. Much love and much respect. Continue to do you, man, because you're doing an amazing job.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate that more than I could say. Hey, if it wasn't for if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, I definitely would not be here right now. You know, to say the least. That's just real. Some people I think I don't know if they get offended or whatever the circumstance is, because part of me wants to say, hey, it might not be for everybody, but honestly, I do feel like it's for everybody. I feel like that, yeah, there were definitely some stuff I went through in my life. I could write a few books of some of the storms, that I put on myself that were not just me even putting on myself, but just since birth, but regardless of that, I have been blessed tremendously. And um, it's hard to put it all into words, man. It just truly
Yeah.
is. But it definitely is, because of, my faith and my willingness to continue to believe and continuing to be blunt about it and be true to myself and keep involving myself around like-minded people, and man, it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. You know, uh, I drank for 20 years. I did hard drugs. There was a lot of things that I did to myself, and then there was a lot of things that happened to me before I was an adult. And nothing has ever helped me be higher than being completely sober. Today, I do not drink. I do not smoke. One of the last things, I still struggled with nicotine. I just stopped that longer than a week ago. So
Good.
I've been completely sober for, probably, I don't know exactly how long, but, alcohol 2 years, other certain smoke, it's been about, a year, and it's been the highest I've been in my whole entire life. It's I've never given myself a complete chance to just be sober minded, and not only being sober minded, but filling that void with something bigger than myself, and that's Jesus Christ. Real talk. A lot of us do deal with struggles, depression, anxiety, pride, isolation, abandonment, whatever it is. And those chains can get broke, and it's never going to get broke. You could think that they're broken or they're gone or they're hidden away, but sometimes they're just hidden, but they will always be there until they truly get broke. And sometimes they still linger, they'll still creep up, but that's why you got to stay fed in the word, stay fed in positivity. That's why it's called everlasting water. That's why it's a beautiful thing, man. And I know I would not be here without it, for sure. So I appreciate you, man. Uh, you know, I'm a follower of Jesus.
Amen.
I'm continuing to learn exactly what that truly means. And just trying to be the best me I could be, but it's not about me at all.
Absolutely. I hear you, brother. Well, again, don't go anywhere. I'm going to end the show. Stay put. We'll talk a little bit after. Um, but everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for staying towards the end. Appreciate your faithfulness, man. Just want to let you know God loves you, and no matter where you're at in life, understand there's a purpose for you. God has a plan for you.
Sir.
Stay faithful, stay strong, stay committed. And until the next show, God bless you. Go Niners, and we'll see you on the next Niners Sickness podcast. Peace.